Welcome back, everybody. It's Jay Drexel again with United Tax Liens. We're excited to bring this information to you to help you achieve your financial goals and dreams. Today, we're back with Coach Eric. Last time we covered funding and how to get access to money and mindset in that. Today, what we're going to be covering is how to evaluate properties for tax lien investing to determine whether or not it's a good investment. And of course, how to find the correct information when we go out there and search for it. So, welcome again, Eric. Great to have you here. And for those that don't maybe haven't watched your other videos or haven't been able to work with you one-on-one as a coach or a mentor, could you tell everybody just a brief background of your real estate investing and your coaching?
All right, hey Jay, thanks for having me. Look forward to and welcome everybody who's watching. Hopefully, you gain a tremendous amount of information from our discussions. Coach Eric here. I've been an investor for almost 30 years. I've been coaching and training for about 25 of those years, if you can imagine that. So it's pretty amazing. I've worked with some incredible people across the globe, and love seeing those aha moments. Now, tax lien and tax deed investing can be one of those big, scary things that we don't know about. And so that's why you want and need to have a coach or a mentor through this process. And so, as part of that, there's plenty of tools as far as determining what makes a good tax lien investment and what makes a something that maybe not a good tax lien investment. And a lot of that depends on what your personal strategy is. And so, when you're working with a coach, you're able to identify what your focus is and what you want to accomplish. And so the basic foundational principles I'll share with you, Jay, is like education is the foundation. Once you get the basics on it, then you can determine what exactly you want to have happen with your tax lien certificate or tax deed investing. And that's a difference, and you want to understand what those are, right?
Yes, absolutely. We're big believers in, a lot of times when people get the technology or they see they can do things online, they can purchase immediately, they have that idea of ready, shoot, aim, right? It's backwards. Whereas we truly believe in get the right education, have the right tools, and then, aim, shoot, so that they don't throw money away, so they don't end up with a piece of land that's worthless. And so, what are some of the big key components? And like you said, it's always going to depend on the investor and what their goal is. Are they just looking for a high rate of return, or they really want to acquire properties? Let's say somebody is just looking for a safe investment and they're okay with the rate of return, but it'd be awesome if they were able to acquire a property. What are some of the key things that somebody should look for on, say, a residential property, maybe a multi-unit, just something single-family home or multi-unit in a traditional suburban neighborhood? What would you tell them to look for?
Okay, some of the things that you want to look for, every property tells you a little bit of a different story. It depends on your strategy again. If you're investing like as an idle investor, which means you're happy in investing in that specific state's interest rate and the rate of return you're getting. For example, typically in Florida, you have a certain set percent interest rate return that comes from that. And you can actually check that out and say, am I happy with that? Or do I actually want to go ahead and go through the process of potentially making that property go to foreclosure to where I can actually potentially get the property and be more of an active investor? And so it's like, are you okay with investing for getting the return that that specific state provides? Or do you want to, I'm going to push that foreclosure and potentially pick up that property? And what do I want to go ahead and do? Now, there are some tremendous tools as you work with our team. You're going to get access to what's called the Marketplace Pro. If you're not using it right now, you should absolutely be using it. You can access tax lien certificates, which are very different from tax deeds. Tax deeds means you get the property. Tax liens, you're buying a lien or a claim against the property. And we're going to teach you all of those things. And so it just depends on your strategy as you move forward. So be open to what is taking place, and then determine what your strategy is. So again, there's multiple places and multiple stores, if you will, that we're going to teach you as far as where to go buy these certificates. But Marketplace Pro is proprietary to our group, and since you're a part of our group, it allows you to have that access to check out those tax liens, tax deeds, and then the upcoming auctions that are taking place on an ongoing basis in the different states.
That's awesome. And yeah, I use Marketplace Pro almost on a daily basis. I invest multiple times a week. I'm sure you do too. And you've helped plenty of investors get on the right path and utilizing that. We'll come back to that in a few moments. I also wanted to bring up, would you agree? And this is kind of something I'm seeing in my own common investing, and you work way more one on one with people than I do. But I've discovered that if once you determine what type of investor you are, if you're somebody that's a portfolio investor, as you say, you're looking for that yield, that it's still important to do the research, but you're usually going to go way more in depth in the research if your goal is to acquire the property. Would you agree with that?
Well, as far as like going more in depth in the research and finding out what it might sell for, is
Yes,
that what
like
you're talking about?
if I'm looking for the rate of return, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hit a few checkpoints, and I know I can. Hey, if I'm okay with just the rate of return, if my goal is to acquire the property, especially in a deed sale, that you're doing almost the same type of research you would do if you were just outright buying the property. So I put it this way: I spend more time on the stuff that I'm trying to acquire in terms of acquisition of a property than I do if I'm just looking for the yield. That makes sense?
Right. Yeah, I mean, and you can take either approach. I mean, if your focus is you want to pick up the property, you can actually go to the actual auctions, which is like most of the auctions, and one of the states we like to have our investors start with, just because it's a investor friendly state and because of it's an administrative state. We'll talk all about the benefits is Florida. And you can actually go ahead and check out some of those auctions that are there through realauction.com. And you can actually determine, hey, this is what the property is like, this is what the bid starts at, and then it will start from there. And you can actually register to be a bidder and get a bidder number. And then the biggest thing is, like you're talking about, you want to determine what the market value is. So if you determine the market value on a, whether it's a vacant lot or a house or whatever it is you're looking at, is here, then you've got to go ahead and determine what would you offer to benefit and potentially pick up that deed. That's a tax deed. A deed means you're actually picking up the property. And so if you're an aggressive investor and you want to make stuff happen right now, tax deed auctions are an incredible way to go. But you got to make sure you know what those values are, and you got to know what your exit strategy is, because that's so important. Because once you do that, it's like, hey, here's my maximum bid, here's my exit strategy, and I plan on this is what I plan on doing with this property.
Yeah, and we won't get into it today, but I'm sure that you and the other coaches you've been working with, when, especially for those that are aggressive and want to get those properties, I'm sure you probably have a formula that you've worked out together to find a maximum allowable offer based on what that market value is. Do you guys have some information like that that you pass on to the investors you're working with?
Well, and the great thing is there's so much information to be held from the county's website. And the county will show you the recent sales, the recent comparables. You may have some real estate software that goes along with this where you can actually punch that in and do the comparables that may help you as far as determining what that value might look like. Um, and so in determining that, yes, you want to find what your exit strategy looks like. So, if your maximum bid is here and your exit strategy is here, then make sure you're building yourself in the based on your goals, of course, enough profit for you to be able to do that deal, and make sure you feel confident with your exit strategy.
Yeah. Would you agree? So coming back to the research of things really quickly and why it's so important to have, first off, a mentor or a coach to give you the right information to know to look up the right things, somebody like you or you yourself, but also to have the right tools to do it. Because my experience before I got access to things like Marketplace Pro or Property Edge Pro, it was a nightmare to go through county records to try. Some counties are set up perfectly, but some are an absolute nightmare, and you're still going through old systems. Have you seen that a lot in various different places across the US? I'm sure you have, but
You know what's crazy? You can go from like, and this is really crazy because in Florida there are 61 counties, right?
yeah.
That seems a little bit overwhelming if that's where you're starting. But every county has a different website. And that's okay. You can go to a place like netteronline.com to help you determine where to go and different things along those lines. And and as your coaches and different to your mentors will help teach you those different things. But yes, it's very important. Like you were talking about, like a simple tool like Property Edge Pro can actually help you determine what the value of that property is real time based on recent comparable sales. And that will give you confidence as far as whether you're actually going ahead and buying the certificate, or whether you're actually going ahead and bidding at the actual tax deed auction where you're buying the property. And so valuable tools that come along with our process and our program, including our coaches and our team. And we're here with you every step of the way. I mean, everything from helping you get bidder numbers to helping you to determine what does the value look like and making sure that it fits your goals and your strategy. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you succeed.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time again, Eric. And just like we mentioned several times in our past video, is number one, make sure you get the education, make sure you have the tools, but most importantly, have somebody to bounce that information off of to make sure you're verifying it before you dive in. A coach like you. So I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here and hope to do a lot more of these along with you. We're going to have some great information to point out to everybody. And if you don't have access to Marketplace Pro or Property Edge Pro, or if you don't understand some of the things we mentioned here today, make sure to get set up with a coaching appointment so they can put you on the right path to help you achieve those financial goals that you're all looking to do. So with that said, I'm going to sign off for today. Thanks again, Eric. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks to everybody for attending, and we'll see you on the next one of these. All right. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.